All right, so just going over factoring again, so whenever you start a factoring problem, the first thing that you always do before you even begin to attempt it is you should always look for a common factor. And that got some of you on the homework because you'll quickly realize that, like, if they all have a 2 in common or they all have a 4 and you don't pull that out first, it's not factorable. So you must pull out the common factor first. So make sure that you're always looking for GCF. Then if you see a problem and it has 2 terms, and what you saw from the factoring worksheet 1, like I think the example was 2x plus 3 to the 4th minus 25. This also is considered 2 terms. Because this is in parentheses, you can treat it as 1 term. So this would be like term number 1 or term A, and this would be term B. So just because you have something in parentheses to an exponent, you can still treat that as 2 terms. It doesn't always have to look like x squared minus 25. So if you've got stuff in parentheses that has an exponent attached to it, you can still treat that as 1 term. So difference of squares may look different. So always try to be on the lookout. Like if you only have 1 sign and there's a minus in the middle, odds are it's probably going to be a difference of squares problem. So difference of squares is the first one. And so when you have x squared minus 9, you write that as x minus 3, x plus 3, or x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, the next one is the sum or difference of cubes. So sum or difference of cubes. So this one can have a plus sign or a minus sign. And so the rules are, if you have a cubed plus b cubed, like that, and the rule is a plus b, a squared minus ab plus b squared. That's just something you kind of have to memorize. If you have a cubed minus b cubed, it's a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. No, I will not give this to you. So think about this sign. The first parentheses matches the sign of your original problem. So it's easy to detect, or it's easy to get this first parenthesis correct because it matches your original problem. And then the only difference, like if you have an a cubed minus b cubed, you have a minus first, the rest of the signs are positive. If you have a cubed plus b cubed, the first sign is positive, then negative, then positive. So the only difference is the 2 signs are switched. Minus plus, plus minus. So kind of a way to memorize it. So if we have x cubed plus 8, my a would be x. So you're taking the cube root of your first term and the cube root of your second term. So the cube root of 8 is what? 2. So my a would be x and then my b would be 2. And it's a plus, so I'm going to use this formula at the top. So x plus 2, x squared minus 2x plus 4. The next type is when you have 3 terms. Yes, ma'am. I squared, so this is b squared. B is 2, and then you square it, so 2 squared is 4. So when you have 3 terms, remember you do trial and error, but we are strategic about it. So if we look at the first example, our first step is to put our two parentheses. So first step, parentheses. Second step is the signs. So I look at the last sign. If it is a positive, that means that the signs are what? The same. So since they are the same, then I look at my second term. My second term is positive, so that means I have two plus signs. If my second term were negative, then I'd have two negative signs. And then remember, if your last term is negative, then you do plus minus. They're different signs. So I have two pluses. Then I put my first terms in the parentheses. Since my a value is 1, like since this is just x squared, it's easy. I can just put an x and an x. So that's when life is really easy because I don't have to worry about factors and things like that. Then I need two numbers that multiply to get 63, add to get 16. 9 and 7, those are good. Also, a good trick is think about the two factors that are closest together. So 9 times 7, those two numbers are the closest together, have the smallest gap. So x plus 7, x plus 9. Like you wouldn't want to choose like 1 and 63 or 3 and 21 because those are further apart. Just most commonly, those are the two that work out, the ones that are closest together. Okay, the next one, now this is when your a value is not 1. So I'm going to put my two parentheses. Oh, first thing I didn't do. GCF. What can I take out? 3. Thanks for catching me. Yes?
If you forget to take out a GCF and you get your answer, can't you take your GCF out at the very end if you see a common factor in the parentheses?
You can. The only trick, or I guess the only caveat to that is that whenever I teach you how to factor, I tell you not to put the GCF in the parentheses because that won't ever exist. So you would probably think to yourself, oh, that's a GCF. I can't put it in the parentheses, which would then cause you to feel like it's unfactorable. Okay. So that's why I encourage you to take the GCF out first, because then when you do that, inside your parentheses, you will not have a GCF. So when I take the 3 out, I am left with 4x squared. That should just be a plus right here. Plus 5x minus 6. Okay, next thing I want to do are the signs. My last sign is negative, so that means that the signs inside my parentheses are what? Different. So I'm just going to do plus minus. And then it doesn't matter. You can do minus, plus, or plus minus. Worst case scenario, you just end up switching them in the end. Okay, next step, I'm going to do my first term. I usually will go with the two numbers that are closest together. So what are the two factors that are closest together? 2 and 2. Because I'm finding factors of 4, my first term. So I'm going to try 2 and 2. And this may work and this may not, but that's okay. Then I need factors of 6. 2 and 3. Will that work? No, because why?
2 and 4 or 2 and 2 are...
Right, there is nowhere to put the 2. I can't put the 2 here, I can't put the 2 here, because then that would cause me to have a common factor. So 2 and 3 will not work. Okay, so we said we can't put the 2 and the 3 anywhere because the 2 cannot go in either parenthesis because of the common factor. And we talked about doing 6 and 1, but there is nowhere to put the 6 because it's going to have a common factor with the 2. So 2 and 2 are out, so I'm just going to erase these. What are the other factors of 4 besides 2 and 2? 4 and 1. So 4x and x. Then we go back to the factors of 6. So what can we try? 3 and 2, but where would the 2 have to go? With the x. So let's put 2 here, and let's put 3 here. And then to check it, I do the outer and the inner. So I have negative 8x plus 3x, and that becomes negative 5x. What's wrong with that though? The signs. So let's switch the signs. So it should be 4x minus 3, x plus 2, which becomes a positive 8 and a negative 3, which gives me a positive 5, and we're good. So my final answer would be 3, 4x minus 3, x plus 2. Okay, lastly, when you see 4 terms, you factor by grouping. So factor by grouping. So when I factor by grouping, I take the first 2 terms and I pull out the GCF. So what would the GCF be of the first 2? X squared, and I'm left with x plus 3. And then in my second 2 terms, I can pull out a, and I'm left with x plus 3. What do I need to notice about the parentheses? They need to be what? They need to be the same. So if that means you need to manipulate the sign, if you need to manipulate this sign to be a negative or something, then you can do that. In this case, we don't need to. So then I combine. So I have x squared plus 5, x plus 3. Now I look and see, can I factor it anymore? No, I'm done. If this were like x squared minus 1 right here, then I could keep going. But in this case, I don't need to. Okay, the next example, my first 2, ax plus 4a, what can I take out? A. I'm left with x plus 4. I look at my next 2 terms, can take out a. 3. Should I take out a positive or a negative 3? Negative 3. Then these 2 are the same, so I can factor this to be a minus 3, x plus 4.
Why wouldn't it be a plus 3? Because you have a subtraction sign in the middle and you took out a negative 3.
Those are the same thing. So taking out a negative 3 and a minus sign in the middle is essentially, it's the same thing. So you would only keep the minus sign once. It wouldn't be like doing it twice. Okay, so let's look at some practice. Here's A. It's a 3 terms. So what should I do first? Take out my GCF. I'm left with 18x squared minus 31x plus 6. So then I'm going to do my 2 parentheses. My signs would be what? Why would they both be negatives?
Because it's positive, so that should be the same sign when you look at the first one.
Perfect. So my last sign is positive, so that means that they are the same. Then I go to the middle term, and that means that they're both negative. Now I need 2 factors of 18. Let's choose the ones that are closest together. What would those 2 numbers be? 6 and 3, so 6x, 3x. Now I need factors of 6. We have 3 and 2. Can I do that? No.
So you have to change the...
Can I do 6 and 1? No. This common factor thing is messing with my brain. Okay. Can't do 6 and 3. What else should I try? We could try 9 and 2. Okay, so if I did 3 and 2, where would the 3 need to go? And then the 2 needs to go here. And I can check it. So let's check by doing outer inner. So I have negative 27 and then minus 4. And that gets me negative 31. So is that good? Yeah, good to go. Okay, B is only 2 terms, so what does that mean when it's 2 terms? It's probably a difference of squares. So I'm going to take the square root of the first term, and that would be what? 9x squared. And what's the square root of the second term? 4y squared. And then I'm going to rewrite it, minus. And there's nothing else I can do, so I leave it. Or is there something else I can do? Ooh. Can I difference of square this? Only the negative one. So I rewrite the plus one. And then I difference of square it. Right. I love doing difference of squares multiple times. I think it's so fun. I know, no one responded. It's fine. It's okay. All right. Part C. Let's GCF this. What can I take out? And then I'm left with 1 plus a plus 5. I want to simplify it, like the stuff in parentheses, because I can combine the 1 and the 5. So a plus 5 squared, a plus 6. And that's all I can do.